Ladies and gents, boys and girls, hello and a very warm welcome to the ByRower workshop. Now, I'm a rowing coach, I'm a high-performance rowing coach, and what I can tell you is that old rowers are fit. They're usually fitter and better off than the average person. They've recently added another age category, which is I think 86, 87 year average crew age at Masters Rowers competitions. There's a reason, because there's so many fit and old rowers. And I reckon almost everybody likes to be fit like an old rower. The question is, how do you do this? And your average rowing machine in your gym, or maybe one you have at home, I don't care if it's made of wood, steel, plastic, whatever, is not going to get the job done, because this is not true rowing. The young rowers of today usually suffer, not everybody, but many of them, from serious back injuries, because the classic rowing motion that you know from your linear erg that you find in your average gym or that you might have at home is actually not the true rowing motion. It resembles more like a deadlift with a bad execution done for 20, 30, 60 minutes or longer. So it will probably be more like a motion that looks like this, because nobody can hold the back stable for a long time, and you would therefore just roll with a round back. And even if you have the best intentions, it isn't going to happen that you're going to be stable. Why is it that when I started to row, I was 10 years old, the old lads that I saw at my club, 60, 70, 80 years plus, were happily rowing pain-free. But when I was 20 years old, my back was done, and the question is why? And I was the second generation that grew up with a linear drive erg. And like many generations afterwards, I had serious back issues. And that was why we built the ByRower. So if you're any serious about being fit when you get older, being healthy when you get older, and having the true freedom to have the true rowing motion at your fingertips, at home, whenever you like, the ByRower is the way to go. We're the only ones in the world who do it exactly that way. This here is the original cockpit of a rowing boat. This is why it is as wide as it is. The point is, you need the space if you want to have that rotational motion around. The true row motion is never straight. It goes in, goes across and out. And that is exactly what triggers your back to be so healthy. And it's not just my opinion, and I've been rowing for 31 years now. That's the opinion of physiotherapists and medical doctors, who also happen to own and use ByRowers. There is a reason why old rowers who didn't grow up with a linear erg are healthy and fit. And there is a reason why many young kids growing up with a linear drive erg today have injuries. Talk to your average college coach, how many athletes have to sit out practice, be on the bike and can't be on the erg or in the boat. There's a reason. Now, if you're on a ByRower, you can actually never hurt yourself, because the energy goes from the outside across to the inside. Same on the other side, diagonally, opposite direction. You're going in, across, and out. So if you do that, I exaggerate, this here, and you push with your legs and upper body, you're doing the original rowing motion. So it's a lot of impact on your muscles, but not a lot of impact on your bones and joints. And that is exactly what every doctor tells you you should be doing. So we've got a strength and endurance workout. You're not very likely to overwhelm your heart, because typical, even racing loads are more than 3 minutes. So this is not like lifting in a gym. This is something you can do on a very sustainable basis. You need strength in order to keep your bone density up, and you need endurance to do something for your heart. The rowing motion, the original rowing motion, is both. And this is why there is no alternative to a ByRower. If you're serious about your health, that's the only way to go. So let me explain how the ByRower works. First of all, if you have no idea about rowing, if you've never touched a boat your entire life and have no intention of doing so, it's easy to learn. I just came back from Germany, where we presented the ByRower to a group of people ranging from 60 to almost 90 years old. None of them had ever seen a boat and they too picked up the true rowing motion within a couple of seconds. Why? Because you don't hurt yourself. It's an intuitive motion. Even if your technique is not perfect, you're not going to hurt yourself. On top of that, you can actually rotate these oar handles. So if you are a rower and you enjoy that rotational motion at the finish, you will appreciate the sensation of being able to do so. Another very important point is that every ByRower is on slides. It comes on slides. There is no alternative. If you want fixed feet, maybe we'll find a solution for you. But trust me, if you like your back, you better have the space, because it's an investment in your personal health. The reason for the slides is that you're not moving yourself forward and backward, but you're actually moving something else, namely the boat or the ByRower, forward and now backward again. This is very important because it reduces the load on your back tremendously. So if we combine the original motion, which is the most important point when it comes to your personal health and safety, with the slides, you end up with probably the healthiest indoor sport you can do. It's the original rowing motion on a ByRower. On top of that, you probably see this. This thing can tilt. This is the BIOROWER Pro. It's the top of the line. It's the best rowing machine in the world. So you have the original rowing motion. It moves back and forth, and it tilts left and right. And this is the mild setup. You can have it much more if you want to, or like that. Or if you're a bit scared at the beginning, but there's really no need to be so, you just set it stable. You can have everything you want in one piece. Now, for everybody who likes to play around with setups, you can adjust the foot stretchers in their position. You can adjust the foot stretchers up and down. If you like, you can have specific, beautiful rowing shoes perfectly matching your shoe size. You can adjust the length of these oar handles. We call them inboards. If you prefer not to have the typical overlap, which is typical for a rowing boat, but like to have no overlap at all, we manufacture shorter oar handles for you, whatever you prefer. One very important aspect of the ByRower is that you can essentially move freely. You're not limited. On typical linear drive ergs, you always have to go to the same point because there's a chain pulling you forward to the same position. Here, nothing pulls you forward. Either you're going forward or nothing happens at all. So there is no strain on your body during the recovery. This is very important. And it doesn't matter if you pull low or high, depending on your trunk height, you're absolutely free to move. And that's very important. This is not given on any other linear drive erg or any other rowing machine that I know. Now, on top of that, there's an app, and this is one of the most important pieces of this beautiful ByRower Pro. You see these wires coming out on each side. There are strain gauges, and if you don't know what a strain gauge is, essentially it's a piece of measurement device which is attached to a thick metal axle. And every time I pull, this little axle, or it's actually a 30 millimeter thick axle, this long, will bend ever so slightly. And the sensor is so precise, it measures the bending. So we are the only company that I'm aware of in the world that actually measures force and angle, and therefore watts and power the way it should be measured. There's no algorithm behind it. This is raw data. This is high precision data. So we measure force with a strain gauge, and here's an angle sensor that communicates with two magnets that are positioned down low. This is why we have a 1% accuracy tolerance, and that's why the ByRower Pro was used for scientific research at multiple universities across the globe, from Tokyo to Sweden, from Portugal to Vienna, which is where we're based. You will find research projects popping up every time we're talking about rowing research. The ByRower is the go-to device to be used. Now, let's look at the app, what it can do for you, because this is fantastic. Let's start with the simple rowers mode. The rowers mode is the quick overview mode. When I row, and I take it easy now, You see, I've got numbers for the angles left and right and the watts left and right. My stroke length is 95 degrees long and I pull roughly 35 watts on each side. What is meant by stroke length? It's the range from here all the way past the 0 point where oar handles overlap to the finish. Now, wouldn't you want to know how long your reach is on both sides? Wouldn't you want to know how symmetrical you are? Most people are not. This is the perfect device to train your symmetry. Not just lengthwise, but also power output-wise. Which other device, which other indoor rowing device can actually give you that? The idea is you have a perfect symmetry training device that gives you immediate feedback. 94, 95, stroke length is about identical. I'm pulling 51 to 53 watts. Look how symmetrical this is. My power balance is almost matching. I'm 47.7, now 48.7 to 51.3. Now I'm 50-50. I was able to adapt. See, without that feedback, you will never achieve perfect body symmetry. And that's not just interesting for non-rowers. It's also interesting for every competitive rower in the world. This is something you can work with live. It's the only technique and strength and endurance training device there is in the world. Now, let's look at something else. What if you could read out your balance in the form of graphs? So we have the handle position, this is 0. This is the catch position. This is the finish position. What if you could read out the force you apply throughout the entire stroke cycle? Look at the symmetry. It's not perfect, but I can play with this. You see that my right curve has a bit more of a hiccup than the left one in the middle? What if this is better now. Okay. This is how I can shape my technique. Now and that's for you team coaches out there. Every time you send athletes out in a boat, do you actually know if they influence the boat the same way or not? Or is it just guesswork? Because what if somebody has a force curve that looks like this, while the other person in the boat has a force curve that looks like this? What's the difference, you may ask? Look, here there's nothing at the catch, everything at the finish. Here there's everything at the catch and nothing at the finish. It's a pull me, push me. It's just not rowing together. Rowing is about using power and weight at the same point of time. It's like rope pulling. The team that's going to win is the one that uses their weight and leverage and force and therefore power at the same point of time. In rowing, it's the same. But how do you know if your athletes influence the boat the same way? Well, you let them row in a BIOROWER Pro and you let them shape the same handwriting. And you know when you do this? When they're on land, when you can walk around, lay your hands on them and say, look, hold your shoulder like this, position it like that, try it like this. You can never do this in a boat. And you know, for all of you guys who row where you can't be on the water for certain parts of the year, or everybody in England, it's 2024, how long has the Thames been almost unrowable? You need something like this that makes you independent. Independence and freedom is the key. That's something only the ByRower Pro can offer. That's one of my personal favorite modes. Now, for you data geeks out there. Now, the bottom axis is a timeline. 0 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, and so on. On the left y-axis, up, you have the newtons. On the right, you have the handle position. So we have two sets of curves. The top curves, you see, red and green. This is now 0. This is when my oar handles are exactly in the middle. Now I'm going to the catch with my right oar handle. See this minus 30 degrees, minus 60 degrees at the catch. I'm going farther. Same on the left now. Good. And now I'm going to the finish all the way to roughly 45 degrees. You can see how symmetrically you're moving your oar handles. This is special and rare. There is no other device in the world that will show you that. And on top, you have the force curves or timelines. So look at the bottom curve. This is the force application of my right hand. This is raw data coming from these sensors. And that's force application on the left side. So this is how you shape the handwriting. For me, that's the most beautiful mode of them all. If you have no idea about rowing, the most important thing is how do you move the boat and when. I personally like to move the boat around mid-drive. And in my coaching channel, the RM Training channel, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend go and check it out. Go to rmtraining.com and I link all the channels that I'm active on. I talk about force curves, why, which one, when, how to get it. And a lot of the stuff I learned on a BIOROWER Pro. This is what made me a better coach and a better athlete. Now, I will take a couple more strokes now on the ByRower, just because I want to, because it feels great. You see, my left force curve and right force curve, they're perfectly matching. Now we'll play with this a bit. Loose and relax, maybe peak a bit earlier, hold it longer. Ah, that's better. That's better. Hold it, nice. Not perfect, but I'm getting there, stroke by stroke. And this is exactly how you will improve on a ByRower Pro. Every single stroke, every single training session is significantly more effective and fruitful. So with this being said, don't you think it's time you get your hands on a ByRower Pro? They're all made here, they're handmade here in beautiful Vienna, Austria. We're not going to cheap labor countries. We are building the best possible products we can build because the ByRower Pro is the world's best rowing machine. There is no option B. So it can't be, as we say in German, a half-baked solution. With this being said, contact us. Go to byrower.com, give us a call, send us an email. Whatever we can do, we will do to help you get your hands on a ByRower Pro. Thank you very much. In the next video, by the way, I will talk about how to use the ByRower Pro to shape faster teams. And if you want to learn more about this, subscribe now, hit the notification bell, and contact us if you can't wait to get that information sooner. Thank you very much for watching.